And away we go. Greetings, junior scientists, scientists. This is a great, big, weird, wild, and wonderful world in which we live. As always, I'm your humble science communicator, the Great Orbax, coming to you from the Department of Physics here at the University of Guelph. I'd like to welcome you to our August 2026 Stargazing Guide. Well, between the clouds, the wildfires, and the thunderstorms, July was a tough one. But no one ever said that stargazing was easy. August is offering us even longer nights as we cruise into the autumn, with sunset moving from 8:43 p.m. on August 1st to 7:58 p.m. on the 31st. And sun rising moving from 6:11 a.m. on the 1st to 6:44 p.m. by the end of the month. This means we'll have just under 11 hours of stargazing. So what should we look for? This month, we keep our eyes on the solar triangle, look for an almost total lunar eclipse, and get ready for the best meteor shower of the year. All this and more. You just take some time to look up. Now, funnily enough, there's not that much time in this month's stargazing guide to actually talk about this month's stars, but I wanted to take a minute to check in and make sure you were still watching the summer triangle. This asterism, made up of the stars Vega, Altair, and Deneb, is now nearly overhead at sunset and directly overhead before midnight. As a special treat, if you look due east around 11 p.m. at the beginning of the month, or closer to 10 p.m. by the end of the month, you'll be able to draw a straight line from Saturn rising on the horizon all the way up to Vega at the top of the triangle. Our full moon this month takes place in the night of August 27th into the morning of the 28th. It was named by settlers after North America's largest fish, the sturgeon, sometimes called a living fossil, since this family of fish has existed for more than 135 million years. Now, while settlers speak of this dinosaur, the First Nations peoples speak more of the crops yielded by the land. The Mi'kmaq peoples of the East Coast call the August full moon the berry ripening moon, Gezigewi goose. The Anishinaabe people of the Great Lakes region call August's full moon Manu Minike Gizis, the wild rice moon, or Mini Gizis, the blueberry moon. And occurring on that night of the full moon, starting just after sunset on the 27th and lasting into the morning of the 28th, is a partial lunar eclipse. Now, while any partial lunar eclipse is still super cool, this one will boast up to 96% coverage of the moon by the Earth's umbra, meaning we'll still get to see a mostly blood moon. Okay, so that's a lot of fancy astro talk, and if you're new to our videos or to lunar eclipses in general, let's refresh. So, what exactly is a lunar eclipse? Well, a solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes between the Earth and the sun. But a lunar eclipse occurs when the moon actually falls into the Earth's shadow. And this can only occur when the sun is directly opposite the moon, with the Earth in between. But isn't this what happens every full moon? So why don't we have lunar eclipses every full moon then? The plane of the moon's orbit around the Earth is tipped at 5 degrees with respect to the Earth's orbit around the sun. This means that even though we have a full moon, it doesn't always line up with the Earth's shadow. But at least twice a year it does, and that's when we experience a lunar eclipse. So what's the deal with it turning red? The Earth's shadow has two distinct parts. When the moon passes into the penumbra, this faint shadow darkens the moon slightly. When it passes into the umbra, the moon will briefly darken and then turn blood red. Why red? As the sun's light passes through the Earth's atmosphere, it scatters. This results in shorter wavelengths like blue light being diverted away from the moon, whereas longer wavelengths like red light are what bathe the moon. Now, unlike a solar eclipse, it's perfectly safe to look at a lunar eclipse with the unaided eye, binoculars, or a telescope. As I mentioned earlier, this is only a partial eclipse, but with close to 96% umbral coverage, we'll get to see most of what we'd call a blood moon. The moon will enter Earth's penumbra and start to darken at about 9:24 p.m. Eastern Time on the evening of August 27th, only an hour or so after sunset. The partial eclipse, when it enters the umbra and begins to turn red, will start around 10:24 p.m. and reach its maximum coverage by 12:13 a.m. The partial eclipse, the part where you can still see the red color, ends around 1:52 a.m. and the moon will stay slightly darkened by the penumbra until 3 a.m. So don't miss out on your chance to catch the nearly total full Sturgeon blood moon. Good luck, junior scientists. Woo. Okay, every year I tell you to watch out for two big meteor showers. The Geminids in December, and in August, we look for the Perseids. The night of August 12th into the 13th marks the peak of the Perseids meteor shower, which produces up to 60 meteors an hour. 60! It occurs annually when the Earth passes through the debris left by Comet Swift-Hubble, a massive spacefaring object twice the size of the comet that ended the reign of the dinosaurs. The radiant, where the meteors appear to come from, is the constellation Perseids in the northeast. But meteors should be able to be visible anywhere in the sky. August 12th is the new moon, meaning that our skies that night will be devoid of any meteor obscuring light for the entirety of the evening. This has all the makings of the most spectacular meteor shower this year. So get away from that light pollution and enjoy. As our summer ends and autumn looms on the horizon, we can't help but think of what adventures are coming in our next school year. And while you'll certainly be busy, I urge you to use the last few days of your summer wisely and take some time to look up. Woo-wee! See you next month, junior scientists, and don't forget to have a science-tastic day. Special thanks to Royal City Science's own planetary geochemist, Dr. Glynis Perrett, for her help in preparing our stargazing guide, and the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada